Hey guys, back in here tonight with some more to start on the podcast. I know I didn't get anything done yesterday, but had some other obligations had to take care of. So we're just going to go ahead and get started tonight. Do some few topics that we're going to get over, and I have a couple of videos. Hopefully, I'm able to pull them in so that I can see them and you can see them, so we can kind of go over it. We have a few different topics about South Dakota itself today that we're going to kind of go over. Then there's some world and local news. Excuse me. Apologize. Want to kind of pop in and go over. So hopefully I can navigate where I can put the screens um, in with the video itself. So that way you can kind of see what I'm reading, etc. Um, it's just a better way of that. So like I said, we're still learning and growing with this, but like I said, we'll see what we can do here. Um, hmm, that's the one I want to put in now. Is this one? Come on. That and get it put into the group. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to do this at the same time. Uh, and like I said, be able to see everything and put the application with everything. And I did it the other day, and for some reason now I forgot how to do it again. Let's try it one more time here. Mhm. All right, there we go with that one. I think I might have it. Let's see if I can figure out how to expand it out a little bit. So give me a moment, guys. Sorry about all this. Yeah, not sure again. Hey, Shelly, do you know how to share your screen with Zoom? No, thought I was going to get Shelly some help there, but unfortunately, I can't. Um, hmm, it's got it pulled up here, but like I said, it doesn't want to uh, show things correctly. See, it's supposed to show this whole thing in my screen, and it's not. There we go. There we go. Now I think I got it. See if we can move it around so that you can still see my face. Um, yeah, it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a learning progress for all of us here. Today, I just kind of want to see my face and then have the opportunity where it will show the article that I'm talking about. So hopefully we can, like I said, we can get this figured out and show you. This is on the BBC network. The first U.S. deployed multiple warships to the Caribbean, and Donald Trump announced a deadly strike on a boat. He said it was carrying drugs. What Washington has planned next is not entirely clear, but some analysts tell the BBC that the risk of escalation in the region is growing by the day. Since the United States president returned to office in January, the Trump administration has steadily intensified its anti-drug trafficking efforts in Latin America. As part of that, the U.S. is seemingly centered around Venezuela, an effort that has led to mobilizations of military forces from both countries in recent weeks. So yeah, that's very concerning there. But you would think Venezuela would want the crime, the drugs, and everything off the streets. So it doesn't make no sense on why they want it. After Tuesday bombing of a small vessel in the Caribbean that was allegedly traveling from Venezuela, officials in the United States made it clear that military action in the region was not over. hinting at more operation that could target drug trafficking. Venezuela's government has reacted with anger. President Nicolas Maduro denies American accusations that he is involved with the drug trafficking, while another official has questioned the veracity of the footage posted by Trump. Don't have all that info on that, but let's cite table that for now and see what we can find later on it. Trump said the footage showed the killing of 11 narcotistas. Sorry, I couldn't pronounce that word if I tried. From Venezuela, Tren, the Agra gang, who he said were aboard a small boat. Said the vessel was carrying massive amounts of drugs and was heading toward the United States. In the Oval Office, Trump accused the South American country of being very bad, both in terms of drugs and summoning the worst criminals to the United States. So, yeah, that's what's going on with that. It's not a good thing. With what they're doing, it has a lot of impact on the United States, a lot of death, et cetera, on it. So here's more of the screen sharing. I just had to do a little bit of scrolling on it. So like I said, still the learning process to kind of get where we're at here. So basically, Trump is trying to intimidate the regime. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told Fox News on Wednesday morning that U.S. military activity in the area won't stop with just this strike. It will clear attempt to put pressure on Maduro. One commentator said the prior naval buildup was on a scale not seen in the region since 1965, according to the professional Alan McPherson, who specializes in the U.S. Latin America relations at Temple University. The Pentagon has so far deployed to guide missile destroyers, the Iwo Jima amphibious group, and the nuclear-powered submarine, along with P-8 intelligent planes and around 4,500 troops to the region. The buildup recalls days of gunboat diplomacy more than a century ago, Professor McPherson said. Again, said deploys aim to help halt drug trafficking and actions of criminals and would aid U.S. to pressure drug networks in the region. But the U.S. Navy might be hoping to strike down more directly at Maduro or encourage an internal revolt in Venezuela army, Professor McPherson said, though he acknowledged that neither of those would require such a flotilla. Whatever the case, clearly the Trump administration wants the immediate Venezuela, the regime, to stop what's going on with the drugs. We just can't have this anymore. A lot of little extra tidbits in here, but nothing that warrants to be spoken about any further regarding that portion. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this screen share. So, okay, we're back here with you again. And then we're going to pull up some of the other things that are going on. Got an article from Newsmax, once again, talking about Trump and how he weighs in on strikes targeting cartels. Like I said, that's on Newsmax here today, one of their top profile ones that has been talking about. Like I said, basically what they're trying to do is get all the drug cartels out of that area and restrict the flow of the drugs, et cetera, to the United States, the money laundering, everything else that goes along with it, because they got to launder the money somewhere, and that money and drugs, et cetera, is coming back in the United States to be laundered. And if the government actually cared about it, they would be stopping it completely at the border, and they do have the tools to do so. To me, shut the border down completely and go through every vehicle that crosses with a fine-tooth comb and hire the people to do it, whatever it takes to get them to stop. Because this is ridiculous. They should be putting pressure on Mexico and all these other countries and say, hey, what? You're not going to get any trade across our deal until you start these cartels. Put your military instead of ours dealing with this. And until you do so, not one drop's coming across the border. I know that would cause a lot of headache and hassles and everything else, but what's more important, human life or product you might get. I mean, you can get the necessities you need right here in the United States. Yes, there might be some items that you might need beyond that, but which is more important, human life or the items that come across the border? So we got to make a choice on what we do regarding that. There we go. I didn't have a deal on Turning Point USA, but I thought it was more than what it actually was. So I'm going to actually go in and see if we can find a different article within it, because the one I had just wasn't what I thought it was going to be after going through it, basically. Here's one thing that I do like to watch is Charlie Kirk himself, the founder of Turning Point USA, does a lot of debates with other people around multiple topics regarding colleges and them not doing what they need to do for our students, abortion, news, politics, stories that are, up to the current date, different things like that. I'm going to see if we can go into one and see if I can screen share with this so that you can kind of see what's going on. So
I'm not sure what university you did say this specifically at, but you did state that you believe that the Holocaust was not as bad as abortion. So in other words, you believe that abortion is worse than the Holocaust.
There we go.
So they're both distinct evils,
of course,
with some similarities.
Oh, come on.
The Holocaust in some ways was far more evil,
okay,
but as far as magnitude, the abortion crime is more evil. And I can explain more if you want.
Sure. So I did do some research. It is found that 1973 Roe v. Wade was ratified, correct? And so one thing that you did fail to mention was that specifically numbers are just larger because abortion has been going on for a longer amount of time. If the mass genocide, right, that the Holocaust would have continued, it was about 6 million killed per year. That would have progressed to 12 million. That would have progressed to 18 million. But it was ended because, again, it's a totalitarian form of mass genocide. And so I wanted to ask you, when you look at the 93% of women who do get abortions, it's 58,590,000 that get abortions the first trimester.
Who these communist elites you keep on talking about are?
There we go.
You make someone's part of this communist elite, they blame it out so often.
Being a communist and being an elite.
Okay, what makes someone part of this elite?
They could be part of the World Economic Forum like Klaus Schwab. It could be someone that's very wealthy that runs some of the major companies on the planet. I mean,
okay, so like Elon Musk, is he one of the elites?
Well, he's not communist, but he is an elite.
Okay, so why should we succumb to the whims of these elites as opposed to,
well, it's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I'm just showing this as some of the podcast type things that he does.
We're never going to
just wanted to share that a little bit.
You see,
it's hard to share within an app of watching another video. But that's something I'm going to work on in the future. So that way, if there's something on top news and I want to kind of pop it in like this, I have the ability to do so. I'm going to stop the screen sharing for now.
To reinvest back in the country.
Just seems like if you're so against the elite.
There we go. So. Yeah. And we had another one. Let's see if I can share this one real quick here. Just a minute. I got to see if I can get this other one in there real quick here, because this is another video that I wanted to.
Tensions between Venezuela and the US continue to play out at sea, with the US accusing 2 armed Venezuelan F-16 fighter jets like these ones of flying over a US Navy ship. The Department of Defense called the move highly provocative and an attempt to interfere with counter-narcotics operations. Earlier this week, the US killed 11 people in a military strike against a suspected drug vessel that the Trump administration said was linked to the trendy Aragua gang, an act that legal experts say may have violated international law. The US Secretary of Defense has since doubled down on the decision.
You smoked a drug boat, and there's 11 narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean. And when other people try to do that, they're going to meet the same fate.
There we
These
go.
escalations come amid a US military build-up in the Caribbean, part of the president's crackdown on criminal cartels in Latin America. It was announced Friday that Trump will even be sending 10 F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico to bolster military operations. And on a trip to Ecuador, the Secretary of State announced $20 million in funding to help the country fight gangs at home. Venezuela, however, has been less willing to cooperate, angered by the US's increased military presence off its coast. Its leader, Nicolas Maduro, has instead called for a nationwide militia enlistment campaign and says the new recruits are starting their training this week.
We are not idiots. We have never been, and we will never be. We are facing extremist forces from the north, Nazi extremists, and
Nazi
humanity must
extremists.
know this.
The US calls Maduro a drug trafficker and a terrorist.
Yeah,
Last month,
calling the
it doubled
kind of United
reward
States
for his arrest.
Nazi
It's
terrorists or
$50
whatever. That's just a shield off of, you know, what's actually going on in his country and how bad it actually is. So,
If you're still
yeah.
using a plastic or
but
wooden
I just, like I
cutting
said, I just
board,
kind of
you
wanted
need
to show you what it looks like with me
you have to share. I cook almost
adding
every
other
day,
videos and
so
stuff
you
to
can share a
the
video.
deal so you can listen
You
kind
usually use
of what's
plastic.
going on each individual site.
Ending up in your
And
food. One study
we'll kind of go
even
from
linked
there
them
and,
to
like
cancer.
I said, do a little
To wood,
test here and
thinking
there
it was
from them.
safer. Until
I'm
one
gonna go ahead and
morning,
get
my
out of it
husband
now.
took a bite of toast and said it tasted like raw chicken. Minutes
Uh.
later, he had stomach pain, a fever, and started throwing up.
Sorry
We
about
rushed
that.
him to the hospital.
Can't
The
get it
diagnosis.
paused. There we go. I'm gonna X out of some of these here. There was another story here. Let me find this other one here. Maybe it was. Yeah, but anyway, I had some deal. That was the BBC story, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop out of those real quick here. I think the other ones were actually all on Safari here. This was more about kind of somewhat local with Christy Nome and Homeland Security here. They're talking about the different gang members and stuff that they're telling them, you know, you're not coming back to America, you're going to be sent abroad, etc. So it looks like a attorney representing the Department of Homeland Security and ICE notified high-profile illegal immigrants like Kilmar Grego Garcia that they will be deported to the tiny African nation Eswatini, Eswantini. Not sure exactly where that's at, but yeah, they are pushing on the Democrat side to keep these dangerous criminals here in the United States, and zero part of that makes sense to me. Why would we want to keep them here? We gotta pay to house them, feed them, and all that stuff. Send them back to these other countries, let them deal with them on a daily basis. You know, just say, hey, if this person comes back to this country and you've released him without us notifying, etc., you know, we're going to stop trade or whatever it takes with you guys, because we can't continue to pay for all these people that came in illegally, etc., especially the ones that are doing harm. All righty. One thing new here about CNN, just kind of example here, because like I said, I'm going to pull from multiple different deals. They're wanting it so that you actually have to pay to watch their stuff. I think I kind of mentioned before, we're kind of new at this, so we don't have the funding to pay all of that kind of stuff to give you all the extra little tidbits. But you know, we're trying to. Donald Trump signed a new executive order on Friday to rebrand the Pentagon as the name of the Department of War, telling reporters in the Oval Office it was more appropriate name given the state of the world. I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in the light of where the world is right now. We have the strongest military in the world, Trump said before signing it into order. The order authorized the Secretary of Defense, the Department of Defense, and the subordinate officials to use secondary titles such as Secretary of War, Department of War, and Deputy Secretary of War. In official correspondence, public communication, instrumental context, and non-statutory documents within the executive branch, according to the fact sheet obtained by CNN. You know, I just don't agree with this stuff. Just leave it freaking alone, for God's sakes. you know, it's the Pentagon. They deal with war situations. I think there's a lot more things that need to be focused on than renaming something like this. I mean, it's just because then you got to just change everything down the line, and it's just more expensive. The United States just does not need to deal with. And you know, there's going to be flack back and everything else on it. And then in, you know, 2.5, almost 3 years or whatever it is, they're going to change it back if somebody else gets back into the House, Senate, whatever. You know, they're going to change it back. So there's a lot more hot things on the topic than dealing with something like that. It just doesn't make sense to me. But here's another one where it's trying to make me pay. Here's another one that I kind of just I've had an issue with for quite some time, and it's to deal with autism and stuff. And there's no facts or anything else regarding what I'm saying. It's just thought processes in my mind only. So an upcoming report from the Department of Health and Human Services is likely to link the development of autism in children to a common over-the-counter pain reliever, and will reference a form of vitamin folic acid as a way to reduce symptoms of autism in some people. The Wall Street Journal is the one who reported this on Friday, which is today technically. The report is said highlight the pain reliever Tylenol when taken during pregnancy, along with low levels of folate and vitamin that is important for proper development of the baby's brain and spine as potential causes of autism, according to the Wall Street Journal. It will also name folic acid, a form of folate, also known as levocortin. Not sure how to pronounce that dang word. I wish they would change medical terms to ones people can actually understand, etc. But yeah, so now I've seen that the stock for Tylenol went down big time because of that report. But you know, if that's what it takes to help figure out what's going on with autism, you know, what meds or whatever that are potentially causing anything, potentially being the key word there. Yeah, like I said, I see a lot of different sides of it. I'd like to find somebody that can kind of debate back and forth with it about it to see what their opinion is on it. Because like I said, I've seen things on my side that just don't make sense and don't add up when it comes to autism. So, and it's weird how it switches from person to person in the family. There's no rhyme or reason behind it. So, all right here. So, I got a little bit of fact news deal from South Dakota here. South Dakota is one of 7 states that is expected to have a shortage of nurses by 2030. According to a report released in registerednurse.org using Bureau of Health Workers data, South Dakota will be 1,900 nurses short of demand by the end of the decade, 14% less than what is needed. That's projected to be the 3rd worst in the nation behind Alaska, which is 22.7%, and South Carolina, which is 16.6% of shortages. The nursing shortage in South Dakota is exacerbated by the state's rural areas because of the distance to healthcare facilities, as well as economic challenges, among other factors. Wallet Hub ranks South Dakota as 45th in the nation in list of best worst states for nurses. The website ranks states for salaries, quality, and number of nursing schools, nurses per 1,000 residents, and their other categories related to workplace satisfaction. So I know for a fact, just so talking with some of the nurse people that I know and friends, on how difficult it is to get nurses to come into South Dakota as floating nurses, etc. It's extremely due to the difference in pay where they can make at other bigger places as traveling nurses, etc. The demand is big all over, and they kind of go where the pay is, basically. I think maybe there's something that the federal government and the state could do to step up to encourage people to come to South Dakota with schooling, etc., and work in some of the rural areas so that we have that coverage here and do something to help them pay for their college. I don't know the rights, wrongs, or anything that, but to me, that should be something that should and could be done. So, but yeah, that's a lot of it regarding the nursing guilds, and that's been a topic for quite some time about different things. So, all right. Here is another one that I'm going to try to screen share again. It's one of my favorite guys to listen. It's Greg Gutfield, and he's on the 5 with Fox News. I love to listen to this guy. I think it's just hilarious to listen to what he has to say. So let's see if we can get it popped up here and go from there with this regarding it. There we go. Now you can see me on the screen, and hopefully the sound will play right in with it here. And come on.
The Iranians are going to go sabotage Yankee Candle.
There you go.
We'll
let this play for a little bit.
They do need a change, like Secret Service, because we know about it. Yeah. Change the name. Change the name. Secret Service. It's silly.
Yeah, there's Greg Gutfield there in the photo now. I just like how blunt he is and how he doesn't take sides. He'll talk smack about anybody, call anybody out, etc. So,
Anyway, what?
She's flirting with you, Dave.
Just paying a compliment and sexually harassing.
It's unique how many they can have different commentators and stuff on there and still hold a
really don't even have any more
good conversation and talking about
the country is
recent topics and stuff.
And not on the defense.
And it's just not always the same people on there daily.
Because we do have the strongest military in the world, and we should make our enemies know it and remind them. Department of War, absolutely. Department of Defense, no, we're not on the defense. You're on the defense.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah, let's get them.
All right, that one's done there with his video. I'm going to go back and get rid of this here, and we're going to come back in and talk about some other stuff. Just a second here. I'm trying to get the next one in here so that we can get it shared here. And let's see here. Come on. Come on. There we go. See if it actually worked now. I guess, oh, it's muted. That's what's wrong.
Pritzker is sending a warning should the National Guard show up.
We're going to immediately go to court. If National Guard or other military troops are deployed to the city of Chicago, immediately go to court. The future of our democracy, the future of America is on the line.
Right. Let's bring in Trey Gowdy, host of Sunday Night in America, and
it's not a democracy. It's the
Do
republic.
you think America is on the line if we send National Guard to help an American city, Trey?
I think your life might be on the line if you do. If you don't, I mean, what I find so bitterly ironic is the J.B. Pritzkers of the world, the Brandon Johnsons of the world, seem to be concerned about some of your constitutional rights, but not the most fundamental right of all, which is the right to stay alive. I mean, look at what happened in Chicago over Labor Day weekend. So, I mean, you want to talk about due process, you want to talk about posse comitatus, you want to talk about all these obscure law school principles. How about you staying alive, Governor? So, immigration is uniquely federal. The feds don't need to ask his permission to go enforce immigration laws.
But they don't want any police, though. They want to defund the police, criminals back on the street with their DAs. They don't want the feds there. They don't want ICE there. They don't want the National Guard there. They've become a lawless party, right?
Good luck running on that, because if there's any issue in the world that unifies people, it is the desire not to go to bed at night to the background noise of gunshots not to worry about your personal property being stolen. You know, Lawrence, I never had a crime victim ask me about politics. Never once, ever. I mean, that is a unifying thing. We want to stay alive. We want our kids to stay alive. We want our personal property respected. And they've turned it into this blue versus red issue. That's not what it is. It's a life versus death issue. The fact that he's so happy about going to court to stop Donald Trump, how about be happy about keeping those 57 young people alive, most of whom are African-American males in Chicago? So how about get excited about keeping them alive?
Yeah, I think it's more than an 80-20 issue.
And that is Trey Gowdy. He's a Fox News affiliate deal that comes on and sometimes does commentator and some does where they do interviews of him about different topics that are going on within the world here. I'm going to go ahead and do that stop share of that here. So I do like to listen to him quite a bit. Like I said, sometimes people's things align with yours. It doesn't mean necessarily you agree with them or they're right or wrong. It's just one of them things that you tend to agree on and can find common ground with, even though you might like them, etc. I'm doing my best to try to find other articles with different news stations and stuff. That way it's not all the same thing all the time. So, but yeah. We're going to go ahead here and I'm going to take a break on this one. And I'm going to actually do 2 longer ones today, being I didn't do last night. And then tomorrow night, I probably won't do another one. So I'm going to go ahead and end it and I'll be back here. Give me a little bit. Thanks. See you in a bit, guys.